Hello and welcome to YourTown television program. I'm your host, Paula Joy MacNab, and I am really excited in this segment because I have an opportunity to interview and introduce to you a gentleman who is working in an industry that we probably all have a lot of questions about. I know I do. So I'm going to welcome to the program Aram Stoney.
Hi, Paula. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And you are the CEO and co-founder of Big Sur Canna-Botanicals.
Correct. I know it's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. How'd I do?
Yeah, you did great.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Yes.
All right, we're off to a good start. So obviously you're dealing with cannabis, and I have to ask you right out of the gate, is Stoney really your real last name? I'm so sorry it's so bad.
Yes, it was meant to be, I suppose, but Stoney is really my last name.
It really is your last name?
It really is,
I thought, boy, this guy is ready for Hollywood. He's even got the name going on.
That's right. I have my ID to prove it.
Okay, well, fair enough. So you started a company. Now, how long ago did you start it?
So we started Big Sur Canna-Botanicals. I started with my partner, John DeFloria, in 2014. Mm-hmm. And really, it was just, I hadn't really been thinking about it at the time. It was something that was always in the background. I've been involved with cannabis for a long time. But really, my wife had one day brought a People magazine to me in 2014 when Colorado was going legal.
Yes.
And the People magazine had this 6-page spread, mm-hmm. and really highlighted, several players that were over there starting the industry, and it made me think. I said, well, wow, what's going on here,
right.
in my hometown? I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
Went through mostly the Carmel Unified
mm-hmm.
and Pacific Grove school districts, but it really sort of just sparked something. At the time, I was kind of going back to school to look at web design and things that I could, other processes.
Right.
And so, I looked at that and I said, well, let's look at what's happening on the, in Monterey County and on the peninsula. And what I saw was that there really wasn't much happening. Mm-hmm. There were several delivery services that were servicing the area, and they weren't local. They were
right.
primarily out of Santa Cruz, maybe San Luis Obispo coming up. And, being born and raised here, I thought that was a disservice to our community. We really, I understand our community. I have 2 daughters that go to school here, so it was, it was just sort of, hey, let's bring a local element to what we, to the industry here. And so we went to, our lawyer and said, how do we do this legally
yes.
in the
yes.
current makeup? At the time, there was not an ordinance. Mm-hmm. You were just under the guise of what was then the state law. And the state law then was just you had to have a seller's permit and you had to be a nonprofit. And so we went and incorporated, became a nonprofit, got our seller's permit, got ourselves an office space in
mm-hmm.
Mid-Valley. And, the rest is sort of history, as they say. We just really looked at providing that need. And so my partner, John, he's a cultivator by
mm-hmm.
trade. And so we got a place in Kashawa and started cultivating our own strains and providing that, and then got with all the current, the ones that are current now. Some of them aren't around anymore because the laws kind of pushed them out, but just really got together with the people doing it right in the industry
mm-hmm.
to provide good quality medicine to those that needed
mm-hmm.
it.
Well, you use a really key word there, Aram, and I know I'm going to come straight out of the gate with what people want to know,
right.
which is things like there's so much energy either on the side of it or against it.
Right.
It's like politics. We have a lot of people over here, a lot of people over here. So to really educate people, you use the word medicine. Talk about that.
So cannabis is a medicine. It's been a medicine for thousands of years, really. It was even in the pharmacopoeia of the United States up until the early 1900s, I believe. And so it's always been around. And what we saw, especially in Carmel and Monterey Peninsula as a whole, we have a large older community. Mm-hmm. And when we started our delivery service, most of the phone calls we were getting weren't really from the stoner kids,
right.
if you will. It
right.
was really those suffering from arthritis,
Yes.
having, all these different, pains and, the cancers and things that you develop typically as you get older.
Right.
And so we really started, servicing them. And what we found was that there were all these questions. There's still these questions. There were all these questions. And our delivery service really became a consultation service. It became a sort of a hand-holding program. We would spend hours with these people, kind of guiding them through what to take, how much to take, and see the really amazing results that they were getting. And I think it's a testament to where we are now in the industry. Obviously, it's, everyone wants to kind of separate medical and recreational, as they call it. I like to call it adult use, because really it's a choice. But it's the same. I think where people, I see a lot of confusion is that it's the same product, that you use, whether it's medically or whether it's just to and it's a weird sort of definition, medical and recreational. I think a lot of people think they're using it recreationally, but they're really using it to, when you say to use it to relax, is that medicine or is that recreational?
Exactly. Yeah,
so.
and that's such a good point, because it's socially acceptable in our culture to go home and have a glass of wine or a glass of whatever.
Yes.
And why do we do that?
Right.
Well, I do it because it tastes good.
Right.
I won't drink cheap wine.
Yeah, I enjoy a glass of wine myself.
Yeah, it's got to be good though.
Yeah.
And also, it does relax, and it just mellows things out. And so that. And more and more medical statistics are coming up about the benefits of that, and stress reduction. Right. So with what you're presenting, it's sounding like you're saying it's much the same thing.
It's very much the same thing, and really it's how you use it, right? I mean, wine can be abused and overconsumed. Cannabis doesn't have the same danger factors as alcohol, but it's still very much, people can use it, misuse it, I suppose. But really, it's very, very similar.
Well, let me ask you this, because again, this is a question that I know people wanted to know and asked me. Asking Paula is, should they be worried if they get on an airplane and the pilot has been using cannabis?
Right.
Should they be worried if they want to smoke something or use an edible and drive?
Right. So that's an interesting question. I mean, would I want my pilot smoking a joint before he hops on the plane and flies me to Hawaii? Probably not. I think that there's that's just a case of poor or good judgment.
Any more than you would want him having a glass or two of wine.
Right, I don't want to see my pilot at the bar taking shots either.
Right, and there are laws about that. I believe it's still 8 hours.
In fact, I think so. And I think, Canada today, actually, that while you're filming this, they just legalized federally. And today marks the first day of federal sales. And I believe in Canada, don't quote me on this, but they're allowing their Mounties and their police force to be able to use cannabis outside of work, as long as it's within a certain time frame that they come down from it. I always like to use, it was always frustrating. I did work for one of our local, several of our local hotels here, growing up here, and I always found it interesting that if I use the example, I can go home and have pop a couple Percocets and drink a fifth of vodka and come to work the next day, and if I'm in a little,
I couldn't.
Well, I couldn't either. But my point is, legally, something happens, they're not testing me for those, But I go home and I want to have a little cannabis edible or whatever format I like, and just relax and go to bed at 10 and feel good. I go to work the next day, something happens, they drug test me, I lose my job. And so
interesting.
It was I always thought that was really unfair, and I think you're starting to see the tide with that turn a little bit.
Interesting.
But yeah, I wouldn't have, people were coming to me a lot when Prop 64 was being voted on and asking how they should vote, and they're concerned, especially a lot of the older people are talking to, well, there's going to be more stone drivers on the road. And I always came back with them saying, well, those stone drivers are already on the road. I mean, cannabis isn't new. It's been around for centuries. It's it's always been there. There's a lot of people are starting to come out of the closet, if you will.
Oh, good point.
But it's always been there. So I don't think that you really need to worry about that. Yeah.
Well, I liken it to, in our conversation, you're confirming my thinking. I liken it to alcohol. A little bit is good, in my opinion, only my opinion,
Right.
and is relaxing and stress relieving, and too much obviously has bad consequences.
It does,
and I think about it in much the same way. Talk about cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids, yeah. Excuse me.
Describe.
So
define.
cannabinoids, the cannabis plant has, over 80 or more that they've discovered. I actually just read something this morning where they felt like they just discovered 20 more. So there's so much research and science still going into it. The two that most people are primarily familiar with now, of course, is CBD, which is cannabidiol, and THC, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce for you on the air because
I was going to let you do that.
No, it's a really tough one. But THC is known. It's the psychoactive component of cannabis. But it also has, great medicinal value that they're finding with, tumor blockage and shrinkage and all these things. And CBD is the non-psychoactive version. A lot of people come into our facility and say, I don't want any THC. I don't want to get high. I just want CBD, but I need help going to sleep.
Oh, what a classic.
And
I'm sure you hear that probably 100 times a day. Yeah.
And, it's... cannabis as a medicine is, it's not super cut and dry. It's not, okay, you're 120 pounds and 5'10", and you can take, X amount. Everyone has their own, natural tolerance levels.
Like any other drug.
Right. We have an endocannabinoid system in our bodies that they've discovered, which, lo and behold, cannabis is, they're cannabinoids. And so we have, without getting too heavy into the science, we have receptors already in our body that naturally receive these cannabinoids, as you say. And so, but CBD, it's an anti-inflammatory. It can help with stress relief. It really has this long list of positive properties.
Well, I'm going to go on to that anti-inflammatory, Aram, because I'm finding just in my general reading and studying that a huge issue in our wellness in this country and probably the world is inflammation.
Right.
And so you're saying that cannabis can help with that?
It can, and it does. And keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to nursing school or anything like that. But I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And CBD is a natural anti-inflammatory. As you can ingest it. A lot of people like to use it in a tincture, which are drops under the tongue. It can be used topically, just to, if you have bad arthritis in your hands or really just anywhere in your joints, just to use topically it provides great relief. But mostly using it internally as well just kind of addresses inflammation throughout your body. And it's not just CBD, it's THCA, which is the acidic form of THC. It's before THC is heated, it's still non-psychoactive. And that's shown to have great anti-inflammatory properties as well. There's terpenes inside the cannabis.
What are terpenes?
Terpenes
I've heard
are,
that term. But...
Yeah, so terpenes are, they're being studied more and more, and they're not exclusive to cannabis. They're terpenes in many other, in lemons and pine and all these different things, and they have names like pinene and linalool and myrcene and again, not exclusive to cannabis, but what they find with terpenes, for one, it provides the aroma and the fragrance. It provides a lot of the flavoring, if you will, of raw cannabis. But it also is associated with the feelings you get, the relaxation part, the stimulation part. There are anti-inflammatory, some of the terpenes are anti-inflammatory as well. So it's really a huge component, and cannabis is found to be most effective when you have sort of the whole plant. When there's all these extractions, all these different forms of cannabis. Some people, I just want CBD and I just want to isolate that over. but it's best actually to have even a little bit of THC, and to have this terpene profile in there is really going to provide a better medicine, for you as a person.
So it's more efficient, more efficacious.
More efficient, yeah. It's the entourage
given
effect.
that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Oh,
They call it the entourage effect. So, there are plenty of hemp-derived CBD products out there which do work. There is a place for them.
So what is hemp?
So hemp is, I guess, depends on who you talk to, but hemp is like the cousin of cannabis. Hemp is a product it is a cannabis sativa, I believe, and it has to be, usually it's at a very low THC count. So typically 0.3% or lower is at least federally observed, the legalities of it. If it's 0.3% or lower, then you can use it as a byproduct for tinctures and what have you. But we still believe that although there's a place for it, it's not a regulated industry. So those out there that are getting hemp-derived tinctures and products, you don't really know what you're getting.
Well, this is what I wanted to speak to. We've got a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
I want you to share with the viewing audience where they can find you if they have further questions.
Sure.
Where's your dispensary?
So we are located at 26352 Carmel Rancho Lane, which is right next to the barnyard. We're not in the actual barnyard. It's Carmel Rancho Boulevard. And so across from Lafayette Bakery.
There we go. Speak to those of us who love that bakery.
Right. So and directly across from In Shape. If you're exercising, it's a great stop to ease the inflammation from your workout as well.
There we go.
Get your pastry, get your workout in, and come get some medicinal cannabis at our facility. But
so to wrap up, we've got another minute or two here. So if someone is really interested in this but has a lot of fears, can they come in, Aram, and speak to you or your staff?
Absolutely, yeah. Please, come in and speak to myself. You can ask for me. Just ask for Aram. My general manager, Lori, is wonderful. Her mom is actually Dr. Deborah Malka, who's going to be doing a talk for our medical community this Friday.
Where will that be?
Well, that'll be at our shop, but we're just this time around we're just educating our local doctor and nursing community because there's so much interest with that, and a lot of doctors are sending people to us. But our staff are very well trained. We are all about education and safe use of cannabis. And even if you don't purchase anything when you come in, that's okay. We're here to help guide you with all things cannabis. Really.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important, and I really appreciate your time to educate not only me, because this program's all about me after all. I get the guests I like to talk to and learn from, but really, really kind of shed some even light on this very misunderstood topic.
Yeah.
So, Aram, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank
I
you
do
for having
appreciate
me.
it, and please do avail yourself of his kind offer to come in and talk to him. It's very interesting. I have stopped in the dispensary. It's very clean and very medical looking and very professional. So thank you for viewing, and we'll see you next time.